Hello everybody, welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff. And as always, I also publish on Rumble. There's also on the blogger site and on Patreon for extra support. And any kind of updates, I go about it on Twitter X platform, usually especially regarding live streams and the such there. Yeah, this couple of days have been a little bit tricky to get around and stream. Probably today, if not mistaken, I can go about and publish the latest VOD from the last stream that I did, but later today we'll get a Dead Space remake episode, so the first one. Yeah. What else? Basically, that's it. Again, when I can do some live streams, I will tweet it out. So give me a follow there if you willing to do so. Yeah, basically that's it regarding the channel. So we got some interesting news. There's been supposedly this is regarding chip war stuff there, regarding governments between mainly US and China, more about the US against China. And I've been warning about this kind of moves because in the world scheme of things, there was like a hearing, house hearing or whatever they are called there, and the US Commerce Secretary now expressed grave concerns about the potential dire consequences of the US economy if China were to invade Taiwan and seize control to TSMC. Again, this is a lot of fear mongering. Given that the official policy and the fact that it's ratified it in UN, if not mistaken, but it's official policy, the so-called China One policy, which even Taiwan and mainland China, they consider themselves one country, even though they diverge who supposedly should be the ruling party or whatever, or the ruling faction. But they both consider themselves one country. So the island of Taiwan, even though they have their different political, they have their political differences, all that stuff, they consider themselves one country. And lately, for a few years now, we've been seeing a lot of not even pressure, some shenanigans from the US government to try to fear mongering about the possibility of the Chinese government from mainland to invade Taiwan, which it's a little bit tricky to invade your own country. But yeah, the main thing with Taiwan is because it's the bastion of the best in terms of producing high-end chips, especially from TSMC, which is established on Taiwan. And to a certain degree, around 90% of leading edge semiconductor chips come, at least depending on from United States, they depend around 90% of their demand on this leading edge chips, so the high-end chips from TSMC company itself. That's why they have their a lot of stake there. But yeah, the issue here with me is it's not the invasion itself. Is that's why again, I'm sorry, but a little bit ranty here. That's why United States has this kind of official policy of China One policy, but in the background they're trying to foment some kind of war, some kind of discord, because even the official policy from mainland China and even from Taiwan is a reunification, let's say, in terms of the country as one whole, try to get rid of those political divides that they have between Taiwan and mainland China. And the fact that when this process is done, again, and I'm taking into account that this is going to be a peaceful and political process there. Basically, there will be a little bit, let's say, more control from China government regarding TSMC, because from what I understand, they are not meddling too much with the company itself. They're basically letting the company kind of do their own thing, because if they wanted to, they just could, to a certain degree, prohibit it selling chips to American companies and or divert the production to or divert more production of these high-end chips to Chinese market or whatever they wanted to do to a certain degree. And because in the long term, I'm assuming that the United States is a little bit afraid of this, let's say this reunification happens. They just trying to stoke as usual, like they do in their foreign policy, which is a matter for other kind of videos. But the fact that they are trying to stoke some tensions there in Taiwan regarding mainland China. Yeah, they are trying to see if they can leverage something out of this. That will not happen in the long term, because if something that everybody should already learn, it's usually China, especially on their government side and in their policies, they are very patient, and they usually play the long-term game. They don't try to get around and trying to snatch some short-term gains in deterrent for long-term plans there that they might have. However, one of the things that the United States seemingly is trying to do at the same time that is trying to do all of this is try to, I think through the CHIPS Act that they passed there, which I'm not sure if it is something overall in good to a certain degree, but it's trying to pass several legislations and several subsidies for to assemble more factories in the United States in terms of the fab stuff there. And one of those from TSMC, you got also some Intel stuff there. The package overall for all the companies to do investments, it's around, I think, 65 billion or so, kind of that thing. But specifically regarding TSM, supposedly they have 3 fab modules. I think this is Arizona, I'm not sure. Supposedly the first fab, which is Fab 21 Phase 1, is supposedly setting operations in 2025 to produce the 4 and 5 nanometer nodes there. Which at this moment in time, Taiwan, the factories in Taiwan are already going for the 3 and 2 nanometers at this moment in time. We got the 4 and 5 nanometer classes. It's already from the, we have products like the 7900 XTX, and I think even the 4000, the RTX ones already bringing on this. And of course, I'm just focusing on the gaming side at this moment because I'm not sure regarding the other industries, but even in server stuff, they're already aiming for 3 and 2 nanometers. I think Grasshopper 200 and even the MI, the Instinct ones are already aiming for 3 and 2 nanometer process nodes, if not mistaken. But yeah, they also in the United States, they're trying to use the Fab 21 Phase 2, which is expecting to start manufacturing 2 nanometer class in 2028, so around 4 years from now, give or take. Again, this all depends if the economy holds up in the United States till then, because they're not in a good shape, which is something that is coming up at least 3 years delayed. And supposedly the phase 3, where I will assume like 2 nanometers plus or something like this in terms of fabrication, will only by the end of the decade, which 2030, 31, 32 probably, I don't know. But yeah, they should already started this kind of thing a long time ago if they wanted to keep themselves in the game. I think they were trying to go around and see if they could disrupt the reunification between Taiwan and China. And yeah, this is not good. Continue with this, just a side note, with this supplementary 8 package that they passed on the United States, around 60 something billions. Also there was 4 to 5 billion in military support to Taiwan revolutionaries or counterinsurgencies there. So you can see that there is some kind of trying to destabilize that zone there, especially on Taiwan, and a lot of it have to do with this TSMC and all the factories there that to produce it's not only TSMC, but the TSMC, it's like the the main one that gets a lot of high volume production there. And again, I think it has to do a lot of it with this. I saw some news regarding also a lot of congressmen, especially Nancy Pelosi, getting a lot of getting a lot of money out of investing through TSMCs and this kind of companies with inside information there. Which is it's not the best example to pass on as a government person, just using insider information to make yourself rich. But yeah, but this comes after several years ago. Again, it's not. This conversation came until recently. The fact that the United States saw as a security concern for them something on other countries, which is something very it's rich coming from this kind of persons. But yeah, they said that even if China invades or by any means there was supposedly given any kind of reunification, they will basically bomb TSMC fabs, which is an act of terrorism by itself. But yeah, or if it was by seized. But again, any kind of reunification or any kind of removing any kind of tensions that might able to have China and have kind of control, let's say, to the TSM, or any kind of favorability from TSM to China, they basically they threatened to blow up the fabs there, which is an insane proposition by itself, even as a thought exercise. But yeah, they kind of step back a little bit on that, given at the time even the director of Taiwan's National Security Bureau said that there was no need to destroy any kind of things, because without access to world-class tools and supplies, these facilities will be useless, because they don't, Taiwan itself doesn't manufacture the raw materials to produce the things. So if there are any kind of imposition of kind of sanctions or any kind of a disruption on the chain there, the fabs themselves are kind of useless. But also that Taiwan will defend the fabs from the US in the event of war with China. So they just, again, this is very common with the United States, is wherever they try to instigate some kind of division, they just somehow, it always backfires. They just managed to reunify people that had some disagreement or some grievances or disagreements. They just managed to put them and unify them against the United States itself. Again, there are ways of doing diplomacy and business that are not through mafia style things. And yeah, seems that US doesn't learn from the mistakes from the 40s. But yeah, so far it's kind of a warning. It's like a looming thing here regarding this, because since the war on Russia economy and Russia production didn't work out that well, I think they're trying to get around and making this happen on China, which is also not going to work. We might see some dips here and there in certain things, but it will not work on the long term, and United States is only going to get hurt out of this, which is a shame, because the United States has a capital market and as services industry is pretty valuable on the global market. So again, if it goes down, it's not good. It's not good at all. But yeah, regarding other news, continuing with some kind of industry things here. We got this little note here that NVIDIA AIB partner, the Manli, I think this is Chinese one, rejects RMA request for melted 4090 GPU connector. Says it's user error. Again, this is mainly NVIDIA's fault. I don't see it any other way. Because at the end, this can be the responsibility is from NVIDIA, because they instructed AIBs to use this connector, even though internally, from what I understand, they were not very confident of this new connector. But since it's a mandate for NVIDIA should be ultimately responsible for this kind of RMAs. But again, they don't give a fuck about customers, because they introduced something that it's with a design flaw that it induces user error, and that is not good for your products. And I think there will be, even with this, for all the good that the 5090 could be in terms of performance, it can even triple the performance of the 4090. If they are using the same kind of connectors, I don't see a lot of guys that spent money on the 4090s, $2,000 and up, to see them melt connectors left and right. We got still, from what I know, there are several repair shops that they just are replacing melted connectors, 100 and above per month connectors of 4090s, and some of them also 4080s. Again, my pet peeve with this is basically when you have a design that induces error user to the amount that it's been done, and it's strange that we don't see a lot more focus on this, a little bit more pressure for the overall persons and customers to bring it more on the more awareness to people. This situation, it's a shame, because it needs to be there's need to be a realization that this connector is not good. And I even think when the next, for example, AMD was one of the companies on the consortium for this kind of connector here, they just didn't implement it. They didn't implement it mainly because of delays in terms of production, so they sticked around. It was kind of a lucky thing there, but still, now they saw the result. They not going to even implement in this 8000 or RDNA 4 GPUs, and I will assume also not on the 9000 or RDNA 5 GPUs, unless there is like a huge correction on the on this connector, or something that can replace this as a new connector there to power delivery on the GPU stuff. But yeah, as you can see, even after the customer doesn't have it's a lot of money to send overseas, because supposedly, from what I understand, there is no direct mention here, but mainly because of the fact that it's Manli. I think it's a Chinese brand. It's too expensive to send this the GPU to overseas to get repaired and then support the returning costs of the GPU there repaired. They even ask for the AIB to repair the connector or to replace the connector, but even that they just don't do that. They still deny the thing. Yeah, it's not a good situation. Again, I think 4090s and even 4080s is, if you possibly can avoid, you should avoid, mainly because especially when you are aware this might happen, you're always on a state of vigilance and fear that something, that your computer will burn. And there was one or two instances that I think, if not a house burn, that there was something almost to that degree there, because it can get out of control, especially electric fires. If they get a little bit out of hand, they just you can burn down a house without the need to. But I don't think that something like this happened, because it's I assume if something like this happened, the product has to be removed from the market, if not mistaken. I don't know how that exactly works, but yeah, not good news. We're still seeing a lot of these connectors melted. You got even the thing with cable mod. They did an excellent product by any means, but the fact that the foundation of being around a connector that has a faulty design there, it didn't go well. They had to cancel everything there, or else they will go bankrupt. But yeah, it's a shame. Continuing with the industry, but in terms of games, now we have Andrew Wilson. I heard some rumblings that he has the nickname of Android Wilson, which is kind of funny for these kind of CEOs, but very true. They got the company's recent quarterly earnings call, and they were approached regarding Battlefield game, which supposedly it's being developed by the largest team in franchise history, which doesn't mean shit. These people, this corporate talk, they are so out of touch with what they want to pass to consumers. Not even consumers, customers. People tend to forget that gamers are customers. That they are the ones that are paying for the product there. They are not doing any favor to us. But yeah, then gets several quotes that again reinforce the out of touch of what these guys think about what people want. And during that call, seem to take on that Battlefield 2042 was a pile of junk, where he said, and I quote, "Players made it clear that they wanted an even deeper experience." And then he goes, "I don't think players wanted a deeper experience. They just wanted a great Battlefield game and to not see their franchise burning into the ground." Again, man, just people just express what they want, and if you don't take that in account and think, no, that's not, I heard what you say, but I know it's not what you want. It's a complete out of touch sentiment there. And then Will said, this guy continued to say that he's still committed to live service models. Again, they are not listening to anybody. After a survey earlier this year that pointed out that 70% of surveyed developers are worried about the sustainability of live service games. Again, but they just said, okay, 70, even the developers, so it is an inside information from inside the company itself, saying they are worried because this is, it takes a lot of money to maintain this kind of services, to keep it top notch. But they said, I don't care if we don't need a deeper experience, and we just need to try and monetize every shot that people take on the game itself. That's the mentality there. And then continuation, the new Battlefield game in development will have a connected site for single player. That is not a single player. Single player is single player. If it is connected to any kind of server or anything, it stops being a single player game. But yeah, but of course he didn't walk anybody through what he's trying to do there with connected site for single player. Again, it's a bullshit talk. They just make up words to try and not go there to what they wanted to say there. And suppose EA is also pushing a all new when it comes generative AI, where the company will train AI models on 40 years of game data. Wilson explained that the AI side of things, as a company, we've been deeply tied to AI since our inception. Yeah, if you have 40 years, it's AI didn't exist in 40 years. There might be a conception of what AI might be. Again, this is the AI bubble coming in. I think that they think people are completely dumb. Some of them are, but they think most of people are dumb. And again, I'm very worried about this franchise. But yeah. They continue with their thing. The most realistic and exciting destruction effects in the industry, at least what they come to the next Battlefield. Again, EA and Ubisoft, they are destroying themselves, going through hype without listening to players, ignoring what players and, or in this case, customers want from their IPs. They are not listening. They say they listen, but they said what you want is not what you want. What you want is what you want to offer. This will not work well. Of course, given this big IPs, usually it will take more time for them to understand that it's not what players want, because it has a huge base there. It's like Call of Duty. It will fade out little by little, even though Battlefield, I think the last game was not that good. A lot of people quit that franchise from the last game, and they think with this they will regain them again. Probably someone will try out, but then it might give them some earnings in the short term, because people might try out, they might buy, but because it is a live service, so the game itself has to be sustained in a long term. People will figure out, okay, this game is a cheat show, so I will stop investing in this game. And they will understood, but they will complain about it's gamers' faults and all that jazz. They don't understand what we are trying to achieve, all that shenanigans there. But yeah, I don't see this Battlefield game coming pretty good. And then we continue with the Xbox shenanigans. There is some there's interview with the analyst. Even the analysts don't understand very well what people want. To a certain degree, they get some points there, but others they completely missed everything out of the picture what people really want. There was some stuff regarding analyzing the closure of the studios there. And this guy, Rhys Elliott, kindly answered a few questions, pointing out that the new Xbox vision centered on big IPs require breaking a few eggs to make an omelet. That's rich. He also reckons an impressive Xbox showcase in June could mostly eclipse fans' angers. Again, it's this misconception that it's fans. People are fans, but again, they are customers. They are the ones with the money, and we saw this to a certain degree with Helldivers 2, and we see this every day. Every time a game fails, a bad game when it fails is basically because people were not duped and they didn't see any kind of value on investing on a game or buying a game or a product, and usually it's because of the fans, but fans are the ones that have the money there. If people are not liking and people are more paying more attention, they are more aware of these kind of things. Again, when this kind of especially when this kind of acquisitions happens and the consolidations and all this corporate talk, you will always have huge fire sales, especially after Activision Blizzard. It was a 60-something billion acquisition, which is a lot. And it's true to a certain degree that there was been talking about this, that the gaming revenue from Xbox was up plus 51%, and the content service revenue was plus 62% in the quarter. On the first quarter, these gains mostly came from Microsoft's Activision Blizzard acquisition. It was basically, it's an inorganic acquisition growth, which to a certain degree actually offsets minus 5% drop on gaming revenue, as well a flat Xbox content service growth for Xbox. Again, they showed this growth, which is the growth itself is because they acquired the companies and they took account their revenue there into basically into Xbox gaming revenue. That's why we saw a huge boost there. I'm not sure, I saw a graph somewhere that shows that after the acquisition it just fires up the gaming revenue, but it's an organic it's called inorganic acquisition growth, which to a certain extent, taking into account what they already have before the acquisition, basically it came out to a minus 5% drop in the gaming revenue, that taking into account what they already had. Again, the corpus is the mantra is profitability, stability, and efficiency. It's the new vogue there. Which is not good news, to the extent that if you put profitability above all, you have some stability and efficiency, this will not work. We were going to see a lot of disasters from Xbox company there for sure. And again, with the latest news, again, the studio closures, Xbox reputation among hardcore gamers and possibly even developers has taken a major hit. The perception that Microsoft appears to be focusing entirely on short-term return on investment for investors instead of building a long-term vision. Again, that's correct. And again, Xbox wants to reach 3 billion players, so it is refocusing towards bigger, sure bet franchises that will help them reach this goal. That's the long-term goal here. Yeah, but with that in mind, you cannot, in search for a goal term, you cannot destroy your long-term goal by just putting everything on the short term, because people are starting to see that. But okay, the company is shifting towards a new vision, one powered by huge IP and expansion into mobile. People are fed up with this mobile shit. The people don't like free-to-play games. These guys don't understand that. You might have some spikes on the beginning, but it always dies out. It's impressive. These people really don't understand. And again, Expo, I think I think he's quite right. Despite the smart PR over the years, likely sees this studio's closure as you need to break a few eggs to make an omelet kind of situation, which is the wrong way of looking at it. It is a massive shame that those eggs are some of the most talented developers in the industry, and now their lives have been uprooted. Again, this will only accumulate effects of not seeing Xbox as kindly as people did a few years ago, and then from a fandom angle, Xbox has completely enraged the enthusiasm gaming community and press, and a lot of trust is broken, of course. And then again, it's a little bit more of the things of the closure stuff, but yeah, overall take is they should have sticked with the Bethesda and take things a little bit more calmly, because now with the shadow of Activision and the acquisition of $60+ billion, they were going basically after Call of Duty stuff there, because they thought they have a little huge IP there to give them a lot of money. But then they have the conundrum of putting the franchise or not in Game Pass or not, which is a financial conundrum, because when you put the 70 or plus game, because you got the premium editions and the season pass and the such, which can ramp up to $120 or so, I think, in terms of the game itself, you might lose those potential $120 to put it on Game Pass. Game Pass is a subscription service. I'm not sure how much it is, but even if it is $15 a month, for them to reach $120, you have to be subscribed for 1 year for one customer. But if the customer just want to play a Battlefield, they can access at least the base game and the things with multiplayer. Until he feds up. He can be fed up in 3 months or so, something like that as an average. So they will gain, I don't know, $40 out of it. They will gain $40 out of that client, taking into account only for that game, because again, Game Pass is a subscription service that gives you access to multiple library of multiple games for a month for $15, and you can have huge deal there, and there is some value to get there. But again, I think Game Pass is a value in terms of gaming to smaller indie companies. So you have that nest of you can put like one or two from time to time. You can switch around with some more big IP games to call in attention that from time to time we're putting like a big game here and there or something like that. I think it provides a little bit more value. But in terms of the developer side, it's good for middle to low budget games. Because if you have a pool of money that you can distribute in terms of development to smaller developers, I think it serves them best. And of course, given that it's Xbox exclusivity in terms of how you access the game itself, outside of those platforms, you can charge as a normal price of what it should be if it wasn't on Game Pass on PC, or even I think even Game Pass on PC it's not a good choice there. And you can put it also on Nintendo and on also on PlayStation. I think exclusivity to a certain degree is dead, because if they want to capture the market, especially with this kind of subscription services, it's not a good long-term projection there, especially with big IPs there. I think they're making a huge mistake, and I think again, usually this company is very slow to turn. But yeah. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen next in a couple of months. I think until the summer we're going to get a lot of more bad news regarding Xbox. And continue with that, again, all of these, let's say, dipshit people on the top ranks, and especially this one, Sarah Bond, provides a non-answer as usual when asked about Tango GameWorks closure. Got a clip here for from Twitter from that interview. Again, these people, they don't know what they're talking about. They even saw the the opening screen of the goddamn game that they are talking about. But yes, got the closure stuff here. Export leadership hasn't openly talked about the decisions to close these high-profile studios such Arkane, Austin, and Tango Gameworks. Again, they didn't even justify it. They just close and sell. Yeah, we needed to save some money here. And they forget again that when you start thinking only about those investors, they forget their business is all about trying to sell a product to a customer. But what can I say? And then Sarah Bond was asked about the shutting down of Tango Gameworks, especially now that the studio created a smaller hit game, iFirewatch, which it was reinforced at the time it came out. It exceeded all expectations in terms of metrics and in terms of sales, in terms of qualities. He earned a lot of awards also this game. And of course, Bond's answer to the question, which is basically a non-answer. They got a quote for the video here, but I'll let you see the video by itself. Basically, it's just corporal babbling talks there. They think the gamers and fans and the customers that they have, they are not watching these stuffs here, but we are paying attention, and we will vote. A lot of them were not talk about this, but they will vote with their wallet, that's for sure. But yeah, basically this is it in terms of gaming news. A lot of babbling from me, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, there's some interesting news to say the least. Got some gaming deals. We got some free games now on Epic Game Store. This Circus Electric seems the most interesting one from Game Critic or something like that, the Metacritic, sorry. It has around 70% in terms of 7 out of 10 basically. Seems a pretty decent turn-based side view kind of a thing here. I don't even know how to classify this. Let's see, it's for free, the base game. There is no DLC associated with this game, so it's something good. Yeah, it's strategy kind of a thing here. I saw this game a few years ago when it came out. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, it's for free, and I think it's very serviceable, at least at the minimum, which is pretty good. I think it's more in line with or trying to be. It's not trying to be. It is similar to, and I now forget the name of the game. But yeah, it's a side-scrolling turn-based strategy game there. On Steam, we got Atomic Heart. It's still 55% off in all the versions there. We got now Dark Souls franchise is up to 50% off, or is 50% off. So 50% Dark Souls Remastered, 50% on Dark Souls 2 Scholars of the First Sin. And then Dark Souls 3 is also 50% off, including the Deluxe Edition, which is the way to go. You get a lot of value from the Ashes of Riandel and the Ring City, especially from the Ring City. It's a great closing of the trilogy itself there. And you got also 50% off on the Lamplighters League. Again, the only thing that I'm a little bit hesitant of fully recommend this game is as you might well know, the studio closed, or no, the studio didn't close, sorry, the developer studio closed relationships with the publisher there. So Airbraid schemes, or the other way around, Paradox cut any kind of dealings that they had with Airbraid schemes, and with that they had to stop supporting this game in terms of patches and such. So the game, it is as it is. What it came out is the way it is. Again, I'm not sure regarding mods, if there is any kind of mods that were that are available that might fix any kind of issues that are still on this game here. But again, it's 50% off. It is what it is. I will leave it at your discretion there. And then you got 75% off on Battletech. It's from Airbraid Schemes, the same guys, but this one is very positive. You got some bundles here, but it's a battle. It's a tech. Oh my god, it's mech warrior kind of a thing there, with a lot of mechs. Turn-based, if not mistaken. Very in-depth mechanics, from what I understand, and it's one of those that I will try out one of these days for sure. It seems very interesting. It's recommended all over the place if you like this kind of games. Then you got the Plague Tale Innocence and Plague Tale Requiem for sale also. 80% on the first one and 60% on the second one. And yeah, it's been a long episode, and I will wrap up for today. Again, I will wrap up with a plug on my Patreon as usual for extra support. This extra support at this moment in time is more focused for me to find a storage solution, for me to be able to get backups of the stuff that I do for my clients, and of course some extra storage for the videos that I do for the channel. And with all that said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, Kunamy Master out.